Want to save images in SwiftUI the right way? This tutorial will show you how to save and retrieve images using SwiftData. The user is able to sort on the newest to the oldest images and also delete those images within SwiftData. So to add the images to SwiftData, this is what we will do. I've got some images in the downloads folder. So what I will do, I will drag 3 images to the application. These are just thumbnails that are created for the tutorial. I'll drag the second image. And then I'll drag the third image. So now the images have been dragged onto the device, the simulator, I can now insert the actual images into SwiftData by using the photo app. So just click on the plus sign, select the images that I want to be stored within SwiftData, give it a name. I just call it image 1. The Xcode or the simulator, it's a bit slow. I just call it image 1. Click on save. And now I add the second image. Not that one, that's the wrong one. I add it again. This is the one. Let me deselect it. Select it again. I don't know what's happening to it. It works better on the device, really. Try it again. And let me cancel it. Let me try another image. Okay, image 2. And then let's try to add the previous image that we tried to add earlier, which is this one here. For some reason, oh, it seems like it's working now. Image 3. As you can see, we have 3 different images that have been added and saved to SwiftData. If you want to view the image, we can just click on it, and it displays the thumbnail of that image. And then we can sort on the oldest image that's been stored in SwiftData the longest. You can see image 1 has been stored in SwiftData the longest, and it also has a timestamp 10:32 AM. And if you want to sort on the image that's the newest, we just click on the newest tab. So the newest image with the timestamp is 8:33 AM. We can also delete the images from SwiftData. But to show you that this really works, I will stop the simulator and then restart it. Just close the simulator. I will now rerun the application. The data, the images should be persisted within SwiftData. As you can see, the images have been persisted within SwiftData and retrieved from SwiftData. I'll now delete an image by swiping, clicking on delete. So delete the next image. As you can see, we only have one image within SwiftData. So this is the tutorial we'll be creating today. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. The first thing we need to do is to create a new Swift file. And this Swift file will be our data model, which will be called photo. So the data model acts as the data table, so we can store the thumbnails and the title of the thumbnail. So just call this file photo. We can create. Import SwiftData. Import SwiftUI. We probably don't need to import SwiftUI as yet. And then type the following: @model class photo identifiable So the first thing that we've done on lines 11, we marked the class as a SwiftData model so that it can be stored in the data context. And then on lines 12, we're conforming to identifiable to enable a for each so that we can loop through the records within SwiftData and display the data on a SwiftUI view as shown earlier. Then we need to type the following: attributes, external storage, var image data. So what that does, it will store the image data externally, which is not within memory. We also need to store the image title as a string, and also store the date when the image was added to SwiftData. We also need to create a custom initializer that will create a new photo instance. date added should be assigned to now. So the default date will always be today's date and time. On line 21, all we're doing, we're just setting the image data using the provided date. Using the provided data, which is the image data. And we're just setting the image title using the provided title as well. The next file we need to create is our photo view model. The purpose of the photo view model is to enable the application to fetch photos and add new photos, and also to delete photos and to sort photos by the newest to the oldest photos within SwiftData. So we create a new file, Swift file, click on Next, name the file Photo View Model, click on Create. We need to import SwiftData and also import SwiftUI. We need to decorate the class with observable. We need to import observation. Import observation. Class photo view model. And the purpose of using observable is to make the class being reactive to the changes that have been done within this class, and then the updates would be displayed on the SwiftUI view. We also need to add an array of photos that is referencing photo class that we just created. And what else do we need to do? We need to create an enum called sort order with the following cases, so the user is able to sort on the newest or the oldest record within SwiftData. Sort order, create an enum variable and assign it as the newest. The next thing we need to do is to create a function called fetch photos from the context. Which is the model context. The next thing we need to create is a descriptor that will state how the records should be fetched. For example, should the record be fetched on the newest or the oldest records that have been stored within SwiftData? And then it will return an array of records. this is where we sort the actual record set. Sort descriptor. Date added. Order. So we sort on the sort order. Where it'll be sorting either on the newest or it will sort on the reverse. The next thing we need to do is to try to fetch the photos using the descriptor. And then if the fetch is successful, then we need to update the array, the photos array. If result equals try context dot fetch descriptor. So if it's successful, then we assign the results to the photos array that we created earlier on line 17. We also need to add a function that will enable the application to add records to SwiftData from image, UI image. So we want to add an image to SwiftData. Each image will include a title, which is string, using the context, which is the model context. Start let data equals image, JPEG, data, compression 0.8, else, return. So that line 39, converts the UI image to JPEG data with an 80% compression quality. And then if the image doesn't exist, if it was nil, for example, we just return from the function. So the next thing we need to do is to create a photo model using the image data and title. Get photo equals photo, and then that should be, and then we pass in the data and the title to the photo. Now we have our photo object. We can save our photo object to the context, to the SwiftData context, so that the new record will be saved and stored within SwiftData. Try context save. And then we need to refresh the list of the photos to include the new added photo or record that we just inserted. Context. So that we'll have our new record stored within SwiftData. The next function we need to do is to enable the user to delete the photo. I don't know why it's coming up with errors on those lines. Unknown attribute observable. Maybe she's using the wrong version of Xcode. Let me pause the video. Oh yeah, I was using the wrong version of Xcode. So now I'm in the correct version, but there's still a few errors. Oh yeah, from shouldn't have a colon there. New data. That should be new photo, not new data. We're passing the newly created object to the context. So that should be right there. That seems that is correct. So the next thing we need to do is to continue to add a new function that's called delete photo to enable the user to delete a photo from SwiftData. So the user is able to pass in a photo that they want to delete that includes the instance of the record that they're working with and the model context. And then now we can attempt to delete the photo from SwiftData. Try context save. On line 50, we need to remove the colon. I'm always doing that, don't know why. And then, yeah, so what we've just done on line 52, we have removed the photo from the data context. And then on lines 54, we attempt to save the the context after the deletion. And then we need to refresh the array list so that it reflects the changes that we have just done. So the changes will be the deletion of the record. So the record that we just deleted, it shouldn't be in the list, shouldn't be in the array, shouldn't be with data. So we need to pass in or type in photos and then pass in our context. Now I'll just compile it. Just compiling at the moment. Also, we have to create a new view called content view because mine got deleted. So I'll just create a new SwiftUI view. Let's call it content view. And then within the content view, not in the content view, within your app file that includes your Windows group, we need to pass in the dot model container and then type in photo.self. And that What that will do, it will create a SwiftData container for storing the photo model instances. You also have to remember to type in SwiftData to import SwiftData at the top, as you can see here. I'll just compile it again. In the next tutorials, we will focus on completing the content view, which is the main UI for this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials.